오공양지는 옴마나 삼바바바라 옴마나 삼바바 오마나 삼바바바라 옴보회양지는 옴삼마라 삼마라 자르마자그라바라 옴삼마라 삼마라 미만나 자르마자그라 옴삼마라 삼마라 미만나 자르마자그라.
Cool white fluorescent bulb should be banned. So, it's good to be back here in my hometown. Though I do like living in Kansas City these days. Actually getting close to the 21st anniversary of this group. Zemesser Sungsan and I founded this group in 1993. It was a residential center over on Tangiers, behind what was then McDonnell Douglas and is now Boeing Space Complex. So this actually has a very long history, although we did move to Stanton after that, and then to Long Beach, and then back to Huntington Beach. So we made the tour of Southern California, as it were. Sings we're here today, and we don't often come here. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask either of us or anybody else? Anything you'd like to know about anything, your life, Buddhism, doesn't matter. I mean, don't pass up the opportunity. There are no dumb questions. Otherwise, you get to listen to us ramble on for a while. And if you prefer that, that's okay too. So, no questions? Okay.
What is the purpose of life?
Mm. It's an interesting one. And this is our job to discover that. I can't tell you what your purpose is because, it's a personal thing, really. I can tell you what I've discovered over the years, and I started formally meditating about 30 years ago, and then started doing Zen. I started with Vedanta, and then in 1989 I met Zemesser Sungsan and started practicing Zen Buddhism. Been doing it ever since. I think what I've discovered over the years is that life is all about how may I help you. And what does that mean? It means how can we help in each moment? My teacher, Sungsan, used to, anytime he was asked a question, he goes, why do that? Right? Not your kind of question, but, should I get married? Should I cheat on my wife? Whatever. So, should I get divorced? Should I leave my children? Should I become a monk? Should I do a 90-day retreat? And he would always invariably, first thing he would do is ask this question, anything's okay, but why do that? If it's only for you, then usually big problem. Most of us live our lives, and this is a generalization, so I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone, but most of us live our lives for I. I want this, I like this, I am like this. But it's all about I. But how many of us really understand this I that we talk about? What am I? Why was I born? Why did I come into this world at this time, in this place? Why not some other place? Why not some other time? These are all interesting questions that we have. The thing is that if we look for the answers to those questions, inside, you know, maybe some guy wearing stupid clothes like I am right now, because we think, oh, well, he's been doing this for a long time, maybe I should. No, great Zen master Linji Dai once said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. For there can be no reality outside one's own my path. My path can never be your path. And what that means is that, if we're looking for somebody to tell us what to do, we can find lots of people that'll do that for us. The most difficult thing is to discover what it is that, means something to us in our lives. I raised, a family. I got divorced. I went through that whole thing. And I decided to become a celibate monk eventually, not for any esoteric reason other than I don't like doing anything else but what I'm doing. And it wouldn't be fair to somebody else because I really wouldn't give them the time they need, I just don't feel at this point in my life I have the energy to put into a relationship. But that does not mean that relationships are good or bad. It just means that my situation's clear so that, there's no mistake about what I'm doing, because this is really my life. These guys are my family. And this is really, at this point in my life, all I care about now. Yeah, my son lives in Huntington Beach. He's 36, almost 37. And we have an excellent relationship. I wouldn't change any of that. I also wouldn't suggest somebody becoming, doing what I do. Why? Because what I did was kind of crazy. So why do we get up every morning? I do it right now for you guys. Last week it was for people up in Mount Baldy. After that, it's for the waiters in the restaurants that we visit, or for the people we meet on the street, or it's always about, okay, always being there and being available. It doesn't mean we don't evangelize, like some other religions do. Why? Because, again, each person must find their own way. After 47 years of teaching, Buddha was at the end of his life. And he was laying down in between two sal trees, and his major disciples were around him. Mahakashyapa and Ananda, and Mahakashyapa looked at Buddha and said, well, you're about to enter nirvana, you're about to leave us. And you've been guiding us now for 47 years. When you die, what will we do? And Buddha said, of the myriad tens of thousands of words attributed to me, there's 82,000 sutras, in case you wondered. of the myriad, tens of thousands of words, a lot of words, attributed to me, don't believe one of them. Be a light unto yourself. And then he died. So what was he saying to us? He was saying we must discover this path for ourselves. We can use it as a guide. You know, some people take precepts, and those precepts aren't really rules, they're just guides. They help us if we're confused, or maybe we practice, you know, or we take refuge, or you know, we read a book. All of those things are guides, but they shouldn't replace our, you know, our constructs of reality. We have to cut through all of that and then get down to the essence of what does this mean to me. So essentially everything I'm saying is a bunch of crap. Why? Because it only really technically applies to me. Because I don't know anybody else's situation. I can never know that. And vice versa. So all we can do is point to the way. You know, we say it's like a finger pointing at the moon. You know, when we read a book, that's the finger, it's not the moon, right? So, you know, Zen Buddhism is always trying to help reveal the moon. But that moon is going to luminesce differently for each one of us. I know I didn't directly answer your question because it's impossible for me to answer. So, you know, that's about all I have to say about that. You and
I think that there's usually two ways that we can approach anything in Zen. Usually I take that direction. A lot of words, and he usually takes the opposite direction. A few words. So it's always interesting giving talks with my teacher here. But I think that's a really great question. And if I were going to have to answer it, I would say that the purpose of our lives is sitting here having this conversation right now. Zen is always about just this very moment. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? So often we're projecting into the future, expecting for some grandeur to appear, some grand rhyme, some grand reason amidst the seeming chaos in the world. And we spend our whole lives looking for that. And meanwhile, our lives are passing by, and we're not really familiar with what's happening. And then maybe we don't find that, so we start reflecting back on the good old days. Oh, when I was young and in high school, everything was okay. I didn't have to worry about much. I didn't have this existentialist crisis. Yeah, I wish I could go back there. Meanwhile, still, our lives are going by. And we're not even aware of it. We're barely a participant. And yet it's happening right now. So Zen practice is always about drawing us back to this very moment. The purpose is always just this reality, always just this reality, always just this reality. There can never actually be anything else. In our tradition, we talk a lot about the truth. And everybody engages that in some grand scheme. Well, what is the truth? And how do I find that in my life? And, you know, how do we define correct? How do we define righteousness or reality? It's just this moment. So everything we do in this tradition is about reacquainting ourselves with our lives as they're appearing right now, the only time, place, and space that we can actually be. And I think it was really nice to have this introduction to Zen meditation by Reverend Bunjok here. He said, you can do it this way, and you can do it that way, and if you want, you can do it this way, but there's also that way. You know, it's kind of about the multiplicity of views. There's many types of correct. The Jains have a term called anekantavada, which literally means multiple types of reality appearing. It's all very relative. So actually, you can't do Zen meditation incorrectly. I think that's important to remember. If you find that the questions of what we say in our tradition, life and death, why am I here, what is the purpose of life, are important to you, well, in our tradition we say, sit down and figure it out. So we have the sitting meditation. And what are we doing, you know, with all these affects and our mantras and chants that we sometimes use? Well, it's all about cutting through this discursive thinking, these patterns of thoughts that are just appearing randomly, drawing us out of this moment, into the future, into the past. And if we can just pay attention to that, we start to be invigorated with a sense of wonder and awe, and the reason and rhyme does start to appear, but it's always just here and now. So actually, you've already been meditating your whole life. Everybody here is already Buddha, we say in our tradition. You're actually already great masters. There's nothing that we can give you, nothing that we can take away. But we're not aware of the fact that we're doing it. You know, Reverend Bunjok said something about how our thinking is continually going. And if you find that you're in the middle of the meditation and you're thinking, 25 minutes, did he die? Is he going to ring the bell? Come on already. You're looking at the clock yourself, and it's like seconds are turning into hours, and and you still realize you're thinking, and maybe you sit for several months or several years, and you're here meditating, you're having this really hard time, yeah. Because all of the Buddhist literature that we can buy talks about no mind and no thinking and cutting through delusion. And the idea of removing ourselves from that is in and of itself delusion and illusion. Thinking is our lives. We like our thinking. That's okay. It's not good, not bad. It depends on the function, what we do with it. It doesn't go away. Your thinking only ends when you die, maybe. And that's an experiential thing too. But we can maybe assume, for the sake of opening our mouths and talking about it, that that's the case based on neuroscience and what we understand about the structure of the brain. So your thinking never ceases, but we ask ourselves, do you control your thinking? Do you control your thoughts and your emotions, or do they control you? That's the initial segue into this practice. So you sit down and you're having this question, yeah, I think he did die. I'm going to have to go ring the bell. Now, if he doesn't, clearly he didn't set the alarm on his phone, and it's not going to go off, and all of these people are going to be here waiting for an hour, and then they'll miss brunch, and then they'll lose a friend, and it's all my fault, right? we can go into these really profound loops. You sit a longer retreat, and you start thinking you can move things with your mind. It gets really diluted. You get really bored. You're thinking, all right, I'll make him ring the bell. Doesn't work. It hasn't worked for me yet anyway. But the point is, we're reacquainting ourselves with the reality of this moment just as it's appearing. Our lives happening now is always true. The everyday content of our minds, content of our lives, is the final attainment in all spiritual paths, as far as I'm familiar, especially this one. But we realize that we don't have to react to every impulse. We don't have to react to every thought. When you're sitting down and there's some anxiety coming up, that happens a lot when you're sitting here, especially. Again, the same train of thought. Man, this has really been a long time. I got to get out of here. Can you breathe into it and just sit there with it? Allow that thinking to occur, those patterns of, again, discursive thinking, to just run their course. See them for what they are, but not attached, not clinging to. Reacquainting yourself. Okay, now what is this? Oh, yeah. Bunjak offered us that method. What is this? Just sitting. And everything settles. And the more you let that happen, the easier our lives become, the more apparent our direction is. And it becomes very simple to, why did we get out of bed in the morning? Well, we have to go sit with these wonderful people in Huntington Beach. And if we don't get up now, we'll be late. Tomorrow we have to do the same thing in Claremont. So what is the purpose of our lives? Moment after moment after moment. Only what is this? And if you can't even project that far into the future, again, maybe answer, don't know. Because something will happen inevitably, with or without your consent. So then, again, that passes. Well, what is that? And gradually, we start to actually live our lives instead of trading them for an idea. In closing, there's this wonderful passage in Christian scripture, actually, where Christ says, therefore I say unto you, take no thought, trade no thought for your life. Don't live your life in a dream, in a phantom. Live it here. Live it in reality with all of us. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
So, any questions on anything we said? Complaints? Criticisms?
Those are taken at the office when we leave.
Everything's valid. It's all good.
See, yeah. I told you, you're all already, you get it already, right?
So, our good monk here, and he is an ordained monk, in both the Korean and Vietnamese lineages, the Lam Te and Jogye lineages. He's here weekly. He's also I just recently bestowed upon him the position of an apprentice Zen teacher. So if you have any Zen questions or he's very busy, by the way, because he's working on his PhD too, so I don't want to oversell this, but he does do also koan work with some students. So but that's, up to his availability. And I have all the faith in the world in this man. He's been working with me for many years, and feel free to bring any kind of questions to him too. Very proud that he's maintained this group here, because this is the one that I founded after, I used to practice in LA, and I got tired of driving to LA, so I opened my own Zen center. And originally it was residential, and I'm not going to go into why it ended, but we are in the process of reestablishing another residential center now in Kansas City. It's the first one since I got shut down by the police for running an illegal church in 2000. I went non-residential in the year 2000. Now I'm going back and we're trying it again. So,
with some concession to laws with parking and not running an illegal church.
So anyway, please, come here and, but it's really, we call this, by the way, and I guess I really need to say this. What we do is we come here together and we practice. That's why we call it practice. And what are we practicing for? We're practicing and bringing this stuff down so that we can accomplish what Venerable Shunyananda was discussing, is just being able to access this moment. So this isn't our life. If you don't walk out of that door and apply this stuff moment after moment after moment, it's kind of a waste. And so this is the time where you kind of don't have to clean stuff because you're not in your house. Oh, that's dirty. Sometimes when we meditate on our own, the phone rings. Oh shit, I'll go get that. Any excuse will do. So when we sit together, we get the support of others. That's really the reason we have community. Really no other reason. Sung San called it together action. We kind of support one another in that aspect. But it's not a substitute for our lives. Because anytime I asked him, or anytime anybody ever asked him what is correct Zen meditation, he would say, correct Zen meditation is how do you keep your mind moment after moment after moment after moment after moment. So this is the place, this is the laboratory where, you get to try it out, and then you take it out the door with you, and maybe your life gets a little bit more expansive. Anyway. Anything else to add, sir?
No, just in closing, like Venerable Wanji said, we are here every Saturday, and it is about supporting your practice, so please join us. I think